Vito was out collecting grass and vegetables for his cattle when he accidentally wandered into a licensed crocodile sanctuary. It wasn't long until he was attacked, and guards did hear his screams, but they couldn't save him. The next day, a mob of over 600 angry villagers stormed the sanctuary to take revenge. First destroying the office, then going after the reptiles. In total, they killed 292 crocodiles. After each crocodile was dead, it would be dragged and placed into a giant bloody pile, and then they would take selfies in front of it.
Morbid fat.
They slid, bro. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. Let me talk about it for you guys. We break down the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my supporters, man, who come back to the channel each and every single day, watching the video entirely, commenting down below, and most importantly, hitting that thumbs up button on each and every single video I drop. I greatly appreciate the support, man. You guys see our numbers are climbing, so that's thanks to you guys. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers, man. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Here are some disturbing animal facts that are going to make you look at the animal kingdom differently. Parents and teachers definitely wouldn't want me telling you any of these. So, listen the fact up. Now, flatworms definitely look like the kind of creature that God was bored on the day he made them. However, there is some fucked up shit going on in the flatworm species. For starters, all flatworms are actually born male. Gotta be very careful in how I phrase this next part, otherwise Papa TikTok will be very mad at me. All flatworms, as they are born male, will fight with their lightsabers, in which the loser of the duel gets injected and their lightsaber falls off, making them a female, and that's how flatworm females are made. Next up, sperm whales are very majestic creatures. Oh, they're fucking not, and let me tell you why. They can actually vibrate you to the next world. They are so physically massive that their clicks are so loud that they can vibrate you or cause an air bubble in your brain, making you meet your maker very quickly. Geese, these blue-eyed devils are so strong that they can break your shins with their beaks. Dolphins are little shits. You know how you like going down to the lake and skipping some stones? Well, this complete menace enjoys that too. However, instead of using stones, they use fucking stingrays. That's right, when they're bored, they swim down, catch them, bring them to the surface, and skip them along like they're a rock. I'm holding back the laughter, but it's still wrong. Next up, we've got baby sloths. If a baby sloth falls off its mother's back and down onto the forest floor, sadly, more often than not, the mother can't spare the energy to go down and get it. Which, as you can imagine, doesn't necessarily end well for a baby sloth. And finally, we have pigeons. Now, I dislike these flying dodos as much as I dislike seagulls. However, I'm not kidding, they are capable mathematicians. I'll be honest, point out to myself, I fucking hate maths. But just like non-human primates, they are capable of learning abstract mathematical concepts. But they're complete menaces to their own society as shown in this video. My point proven, they just threw one of their own into the next world. Elon!
Phase ate up. He was on the pigeon theory, man. He was the first one.
Websites you should never visit. Part 2. Crime scene photos. Trigger warning. This website is extremely graphic and not for the faint of heart. It shows real live crime scene photos and then explains them in depth. The website is a bit much and not for everyone, so I would definitely take that with a grain of salt. Comment down below and tag a friend if I should do a part 3.
I don't think I want to visit that site. I don't need that in my mind.
Disturbing brain facts. 1. The brain will protect itself even if it means misery to you or death. If you're stuck in the middle of a cold place, your brain will fall asleep to conserve energy and never wake up again. Inhaling smoke in the middle of a burning house, your brain will make you stop breathing and pass out. 2. Your brain doesn't necessarily stop all activity the moment you are pronounced clinically dead. Up to 30 minutes of brain activity has been recorded after death. 3. Comment brain and I will DM you a brain hack you definitely have never heard about. 4. When you're falling asleep at night and your body jerks. This is called hypnic jerks. This happens because your brain thinks you're dying if your body falls asleep faster than your brain. 5. 90% of all illness and disease is stress related. 6. Certain brain injuries or conditions can lead to spontaneous and uncontrollable bursts of aggressive or violent behavior, even in individuals who were previously non-violent. 7. Your eyeballs are an extension of your brain and are directly connected to it.
Whoa. Those brain facts, man. Definitely write some of those down, bro. We're gonna need those.
Scariest things found underwater. Water. From Atlantic Ocean. Stone people.
They from Atlantis?
Chuk Lagoon. WW to tank.
Damn.
From Little Traverse Bay. Jesus statue. From Lake Lanier. Underwater ghost town to 150 plus towns.
Woo.
From Lake Neuchatel. Shark statue. From Antarctica. Ningen.
What's that?
From Minnesota Lake. Jason Voorhees statue.
This
How was
is
Jason
the
underwater?
girl that vanished into thin air. Her name is Yuki Onishi. On April 29th of 2005, 5-year-old Yuki was out celebrating Greenery Day with her mother. It's a national holiday in Japan, and what they do is they go out, they celebrate nature, and they collect bamboo shoots. So Yuki, her mom, and 60 other people were out doing this. Yuki was so excited that she found her first bamboo shoot, she showed her mother, and then she ran off to find more. That's when she disappeared and was never seen from again. When they realized that she was nowhere to be found, they actually brought in search dogs and the police. This is where it gets really strange. The dogs followed her scent to the middle of the forest and then just stopped. The scent stopped in the middle of the forest as if she had just disappeared into thin air from that spot. To this day, she has never been found and no one knows what happened. If you want to hear some theories, come back for part 2.
Deadliest disasters
That's
in
insane.
human history. Part 1. In 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds into its flight, killing all 7 crew members aboard. The astronauts actually lived through the initial explosion and survived for nearly 3 minutes before they died on impact with the water. In 1184, a group of nobles gathered in a room in the Church of St. Peter above the latrine pit of the monks. All of a sudden, the floor collapsed due to their combined weight, causing 60 nobles to fall to their death into a pool of poop and sewage. In 1893, gifts were being passed out at a magic show in Victoria Hall. Over 1,000 kids tried to force themselves down a narrow staircase that led to a single door that opened inward. Only one child at a time could pass through, causing 183 children to be crushed to death.
With some gifts, man. Even back then, bro, people were going crazy over gifts. About items, belongings, man. It just, it don't make sense. People gotta be more careful.
Facts, Part 409. In November of '99, the girlfriend of Panthers wide receiver Ray Caruth was shot 4 times and later died in the hospital. It was soon determined that her NFL boyfriend had hired a hitman to kill her after she reportedly refused to abort their baby. The baby ended up surviving, and Caruth went to prison for 19 years before being released in 2018. During a tense pro basketball game in 1992, Serbian player Boban Jankovic was frustrated with a foul call and slammed his head into a padded concrete post. He immediately dropped to the floor and was never able to walk again after badly damaging his spinal cord. Earlier this year, 44-year-old Pennsylvania man John Matthew Chapman was sentenced to life in prison after driving his girlfriend across the country and luring her into a Nevada desert for a bondage photo shoot. He then bound her to a signpost with zip ties, taped her mouth and nose shut, and watched as she died.
Here's what would happen if every
People are
girl on
crazy.
Earth disappeared. So about 4 billion girls would be wiped out and the boys would be left to fend for themselves. And more than 70% of people in the medical field are actually females. So people would be dying left and right. Also, the entire school system would collapse. This is because most college students and professors are actually female. On top of that, 30 countries would lose their leaders and the world would fall into chaos. And then the boys would be left alone to go extinct.
Things humans weren't meant to
We
see.
need women. That's simple. That's a very simple thought. What the hell? All this secret footage. Okay, that looks kind of edited right there. I can't lie to you right there. What the hell is that? Super secret footage.
Here's some facts you didn't
Is that legit on the edit?
This is the sandbox tree, a tree doing everything in its power to kill you. If its deadly appearance isn't enough to keep you away, maybe learning that its small fruits, which look like little pumpkins, actually become time bombs when they fully mature. With a loud bang, they will fling their hardened seeds up to 150 miles per hour and over 60 feet.
Damn.
To further add to that, the fruits are also poisonous, and the sap can cause blindness and a painful red rash. This is a nose tomb located in Kyoto, Japan, which is filled with Korean noses. Japanese samurai would collect trophies from those they killed during wartime. Now, traditionally, it was the entire enemy's head. But due to how cumbersome it would be to take that many severed heads, they went with noses instead. The noses would be pickled and sent back to Japan. This tomb contains an estimated 38,000 noses. In July of 2018, a tofu worker in Indonesia named Sugito was out collecting grass and vegetables for his cattle when he accidentally wandered into a licensed crocodile sanctuary. It wasn't long until he was attacked, and guards did hear his screams, but they couldn't save him. The next day, a mob of over 600 angry villagers stormed the sanctuary to take revenge. First destroying the office, then going after the reptiles. In total, they killed 292 crocodiles. After each crocodile was dead, it would be dragged and placed into a giant bloody pile, and then they would take selfies in front of it.
Morbid fact.
They slid, bro. They was not playing, man. That type of community like that, you can't find that. That's rare. Don't mess with people, bro. You don't know where they come from.
Part 408. American actor and model John Eric Hexum was once seen as the next big thing in Hollywood due to his charming looks, charisma, and radio voice. But in 1984, he died on the set of the TV show Cover Up after accidentally discharging a blank cartridge into his skull. Hexum had apparently been playing Russian roulette with a prop gun during a break in filming, and the muzzle blast caused enough blunt force trauma to fracture a piece of his skull that propelled into his brain. Serial killer Israel Keys went the extra mile to ensure that he would never be detected. He had no preferred victim type and never killed in the same area twice. For one murder, he flew to Chicago and drove 1,000 miles all the way to Vermont in a rental car and used a murder kit he'd hidden there 2 years prior. When shopping on his murder trips, he always kept his phone turned off and only ever paid in cash. But Keys was caught in 2012 after using a victim's credit card when he didn't have any cash on hand.
Things
This
people do
Jesus
is to
statue
not get
started
caught.
leaking water, and everybody thought it was a miracle until they realized it wasn't. In 2012, when water started dripping down this Jesus Christ statue in an Indian church, everybody thought it was a miracle. Hundreds of people would gather there every single day just to get a drink of this water. They thought it would cure diseases and even send them to heaven. But this guy right here wasn't buying it. His name is Sanal, and he wanted to see it for himself. So he traveled across the world to see this statue and began his investigation. He searched the building next door where he found drain pipes that had bursted, and they were leaking everywhere. It turns out the water dripping down from the statue was actually sewage water. So the water people were collecting and drinking was literally poop. Sanal shared this information with everyone, but nobody wanted to hear it. Instead, he received threats, and the church even sentenced him to prison.
Let's talk about the Arcadia.
He was just trying to expose the truth.
Arcadia County,
Or tell the
Ohio,
truth.
A teen named Calvin Dim went missing on his way home from school. This was really unusual at the time because Calvin was actually a pretty well-accomplished athlete and he was very tall for his age, so whoever did overtake him and abduct him
was either a larger person or a group of people. So for like weeks, this investigation goes cold until a VHS tape is mysteriously found at the doorstep of his parents' house. The VHS was compiled of various different clips of unknown people in different masks who were just staring into the camera. But there is one clip in this video that had the words Cal, short for Calvin, edited into the VHS. This was pretty definitive evidence for the police that whoever made this video either knew where Calvin was, or they had him in their possession. Police would end up finding this frame, which showed a person in a black tarp, presumably with their wrists and ankles tied. Investigators believe this could be Calvin, and what's even eerier is they think this was shot in the woods behind his house.
What? People are sick, man. Just like torments their family like that. Send a VHS tape to them so they can see that.
This is the creepy story about the school trip. An entire class of 6th graders went on a school trip. Everyone was taking pictures with phones and cameras. When they returned back to school, everyone was looking through the photos when the one girl said, "Oh my god, what is that?" Everybody ran over to look at it. In the picture, one of the boys in the class was sitting on the bus. Nothing seemed strange about the photo until you looked very closely at his reflection in the window. His face in the reflection looked like it was yellow and bulging, bubbling and mutating, and there appeared to be a strange floating white thing beside him. When everyone turned the picture upside down, they realized it was a skull, and it was horrific. When the boy saw the photo of himself, he burst into tears and immediately had a panic attack. The teacher had to send the boy to the nurse, and the principal banned everybody from ever speaking about the strange photo again. 7 days later, the boy in the photo died from a brain tumor.
So what the hell was that? Like a sign or something, man? He said he saw a skull on him, bro. And they was all taking pictures, man. So that had to have been a sign, right? That's crazy how they caught that on camera. 7 days later, man. When you're taking pictures, bro, it tells a story. I learned that watching these videos together with you guys.
Here's 5 things you won't believe you can buy off the dark web. The last one could have saved me a ton of money. Number 1 is fake passports for any country in the world. Now this is very dangerous because a lot of terrorists use this. Number 2 is a hitman. You can hire a contract killer to get the job done for you for approximately $5,000. Number 3 is credit card numbers. And since you can never know that an individual credit card has been canceled, these identity thieves sell them in batches of 100. Number 4 is a lifetime Netflix account for just $1. This account is paid for using stolen credit cards. Finally, at number 5, a fake college degree from the college of your choice.
People getting fake degrees out here? You gotta check everything.
Humans were never meant to see. If you didn't know, this is what a snail drinking water looks like. It's actually super rare, and the fact we were able to capture it on camera is incredible. But what's more incredible is this octopus dreaming. And the reason why it's changing colors so much is because it's dreaming about different environments. So it's trying to blend in all of them.
Whoa, what the hell? Octopus can dream? Yeah, I never do that. And that shot of the snail looks like a freaking, like a bullet went off, bro. It's like that quick. Hey man, nature. I learn new things every single day watching these videos together with you guys, so I'm always grateful for that.
Now I love dinosaurs as much as the next guy, but I think it's pretty safe to say there ain't no way in fuck I'm taking part in this shit. Cause here are some of the scariest extinct animals you'll be glad took the L. First up, we got the Therizinosaurus, a literal Freddy Krueger of a dinosaur. If you don't believe me, what the fuck is that? They have 3 feet long claws. Now scientists say that they're most likely herbivores, but I'm sorry, evolution, what the fuck? Why have you given a herbivore 3 foot long claws to tear down the little plant? Meanwhile, you've given the T-Rex, the daddy meat-eating carnivore, little fucking Tootsie Rolls for arms. The meat will comprende. Next up, we got the Meganeura. Now, I'm really not a fan of dragonflies nowadays, so a flying cocky fucker with a wingspan of 75 centimeters that resembles a dragonfly can fuck off. And finally, we got sea scorpions. Now, they're on the list purely for their size. I mean, what? They had a length of 8 feet and 3 inches, and when their claws were actually fully extended, that could add another 3 feet to their length. You know, just an 11.5 foot scorpion. We chillin'. Now, I don't mind scorpion. If this was a spider, nah!
Yeah, we ain't doing... I know we all do spider seekers. That's a no. Man, so scorpion was that big back in the day? Yuki said we glad they took the L, bro.
This is perfection. One of the worst videos on the dark web you should never go looking for explained.
Okay, so Perfection is a dark web video nobody should go looking for or even want to see. The video shows a woman peeling her nose and entire face off with a potato peeler, with literally zero expression or pain on her face throughout the entire time doing it. After she completely peeled off her face and nose, her jaw was just hanging down because there was no support from the cheeks anymore. There is a story about 3 friends who watched the entire Perfection video and 2 of them ended up dying. Many reports say that while watching the Perfection video, it somehow hypnotizes you and you end up doing what the girl did to herself and dying. But luckily for all of us, this video is literally impossible to find. It's extremely hard to find on the dark web, which means it's virtually impossible to find it on the normal web.
Good.
This is honestly a video I would even stay curious on, because it comes from the dark web for starters, and it's extremely and utterly awful. Nobody knows who the girl is or why she's doing this to herself, and nobody knows who even made it. But the stories surrounding the video saying people get hypnotized and end up peeling their own face off and dying make it 100 times more scary, and should make you not want to watch it or even look for it. Perfection is regarded as one of the most unsettling and disturbing videos on the internet, and the mysterious origin and story of it make it truly an internet mystery.
Let's talk about a terrifying moment from the scariest game I have ever played. Lost in Vivo. In Lost in Vivo, your dog Danny has ventured into the sewer and it's our job to save him. Danny is our best friend. We can't let him get hurt. The sewer goes deeper and deeper, evolving into all sorts of random locations. We push on to find Danny, fighting through unspeakable horrors while we do so. Eventually, we make our way to a mining area. And look, there's Danny. He even comes when we whistle. But wait a minute. Why does he look a little off? Why does he sound like that? All of a sudden, Danny's body begins to open up. This is not your dog, and you need to run because it can smell your fear.
What type of game is that, bro? Dogs, the final boss?
Never knew. If your immune system ever found out that you have eyeballs, you would go blind. Which means right now, your immune system has no clue that you can see. Because if you did, they would attack your eyeballs until you could no longer ever see. This is because your eyeballs have a protein in them called crystalline that doesn't exist anywhere else in your body. So if your immune system found out and checked them out, it would be like, something's wrong here. Studies show that most serial killers are born in November. Today's high school students have the same anxiety levels as insane asylum patients had in the 1950s. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, my anxiety might be up there too. There's a disease called fatal familial insomnia, where people suddenly one day lose their ability to fall asleep, which leads them to slowly go insane. They can't distinguish dreams from reality anymore and go into some type of paranoia. It becomes so severe that they eventually die. Those that make it to the final stage and don't die usually end up in a vegetative state, no longer conscious. And it can happen to any one of you. About 3,000 people go missing every year in the United States. The last execution by guillotine was in 1977. This was in France. And also that was the same year the first Star Wars movie came out. You are always 6 minutes away from death, but breathing resets the clock. In 2011, Anatoly Yakovlevich was arrested for having 12 dolls in his apartment. Only problem is, they weren't normal dolls. They were recently deceased little girls that had been dug up and dressed to be put on display. In 2012, a Burger King employee anonymously posted this to 4chan. It said, "This is the lettuce you eat at Burger King." It only took 20 minutes for people to track down the branch that he worked at, and he was fired. You really never know what people are doing to your food. H.H. Holmes was a serial killer who built a torture hotel in the 19th century. He had secret rooms with gas chambers, trap doors, and stairs that led to nowhere. He loved to play with his victims' minds. It was almost like a real-life Saw movie. There's a bridge in Scotland called the Overtoun Bridge, and for some reason, dogs keep jumping off of it at the same spot. Yeah, they just jump to their deaths. Experts can't figure out why either. Some people speculate it's a magnetic field, or maybe a frequency that only they can hear, but others believe it's something supernatural. But whatever is making dogs jump off that bridge to their deaths is still to this day unexplained. JonBenet was an infamous serial killer who not only cooked his victims to eat for himself, but also made them into burgers, using their remains remains. He then sold them to unsuspecting customers from a roadside food stand. We really never know where he is. I'm cooking all my food myself. That's why I don't eat over people's house. In 2021, a new homeowner was shocked to find a boarded up wall. When he ripped the boards off the wall, he discovered a hole. In that hole was a doll clutching a note. The note saying that she killed a family who lived there in the 1960s. Be honest, would you move out? In 1978, there was a pilot named Frederick Valentin. Him and his plane disappeared in Australia. His last communication was, Melbourne, that strange aircraft is hovering above me again. It is hovering and it is not an aircraft. This is a mugshot of William West and William West. Oh, and they're not related at all. But they were both sent to Leavenworth Prison at the exact same time in 1903. And after some confusion, the staff finally figured out they were two different people who had the exact same name and looked identical. This was said to be one of the main reasons why we now use fingerprints to identify somebody. There's biotech being developed as we speak that can make prisoners feel they are serving an 1,000-year sentence in a matter of 8 hours. That's horrifying. Imagine thinking you spent 1,000 years somewhere, and then when you wake up and snap out of it, you realize that it was only a couple hours. Do you know how crazy that is? Anyways, like this video if you want a part 2.
This woman filmed her own murder after her husband found out she was having an affair. On December 2021, a fight broke out between 60-year-old Carrie Birmingham and his 48-year-old wife Patricia after he found out that she had been having an affair. During the argument, Carrie pulled out his shotgun, pointed at Patricia, and threatened to take her life. Patricia began recording their fight, and the last thing her husband said to her before he pulled the trigger was that she was going to meet Jesus. Carrie pled guilty, and even though they had video evidence of what he did, he was only sentenced to 10 years in prison with the possibility of parole in 5 years. And the reason for this is because the laws in Texas allows for a reduction in punishment if the crime was committed in sudden passion, which in this case, Carrie found out about his wife's affair and quickly reacted in this way.
Should they change that law, man?
He took her life because of it. On September 20th of 2015, Fidel Lopez and his girlfriend Maria Nemeth were inside of his apartment drinking. Maria ended up getting very intoxicated and they both ended up in a closet.
Okay.
They began to have intercourse and Maria had said the name of her ex-husband twice. Once Fidel had heard what Maria said, he became enraged. At that point, Fidel left Maria in the closet while he went through the apartment and began to break things. He had shattered a glass door and punched holes into the wall. Fidel then went back into the closet and Maria was lying unconscious. Fidel then decided to insert a beer bottle, a hair straightener, and both of his fists inside of Maria. Maria started to bleed and Fidel stated this is when he became a monster. Fidel then admitted to pulling out Maria's intestines. Maria had never gained consciousness during this time. He then carried Maria to the bathroom to put water on her face, but she still did not wake up. Fidel then washed the blood off of his hands and went outside to smoke a cigarette. He started to panic and then went to the bathroom to check on Maria. She was no longer breathing, so that's when he decided to call 911. Maria was taken to the hospital and she was pronounced dead. Fidel was sentenced to life in prison and ended up taking a plea deal to avoid the death penalty.
This is proofread art alone. Okay, so this alien-looking creature was recently captured on video, and
Shapeshifter? We gotta see this. What the hell is that?
this is, but it's absolutely terrifying. And this is also 4,000 feet in the ocean.
Ooh.
We need to talk.
4,000 feet? You guys see, because you know we haven't even explored like half of the ocean, so that could be a possibility, man. Is that legit? Or is that cap? You guys know what to do.
About the smiling dog. The smiling dog is a demonic creature that looks like a dog but has human teeth. Photos of this creature were sent to people all over the world. And once a photo was seen, the smile dog would enter the viewer's dream. And in the dream, you'll feel a need to ask the creature one question. What do you want? Then the smile dog will always reply with spread the word. After that, you'll have 3 days to grant the smile dog's wishes. And if you don't send any videos or photos of the smile dog to someone else, the photo you receive will start to deform, showing you a much more disturbing version of the smile dog that some people think is its true form. Some people have even said the smile dog's nightmares are so bad that its victims avoid sleeping altogether, weakening their mind and making them even more vulnerable till the smile dog comes out of their dreams and into their reality to further torment them. So send this video to someone else to spread the word of the smile dog.
Y'all doing that, secrets, man? Spreading that smile dog picture? I ain't receiving, so I don't know if that's back to cat. That it.
Anytime I sort of revisit the story of Carly Guse, I'm reminded that that is one of the most chilling stories that I've ever heard come out of California. This is Carly. She was pretty young at the time. She was only a junior in high school, and all of this took place up in Mono County. This is in California. Very, very rural. When I'm saying rural, I'm serious. Like, there's nothing out there. Carly didn't really have a lot of issues. I mean, most people reported that she was a pretty good kid, but in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, her friends noticed that she seemed paranoid. She felt like somebody was tracking her on her phone, but she never said who. Fast forward, she ends up going to a party. She does something at that party that I can't say, and then she has a complete meltdown, a total episode. She allegedly even bit her own boyfriend at the time and then ran off into the street, into the darkness before getting picked up by her stepmother. From what I read, it sounded like the parents pretty much stayed up with her all night because they were waiting for her to come down from whatever it was that she took. But she never did, and they never called 911. Come the morning, she was gone. She was not in the house. If these are stories that interest you, we've got a whole show on it. If you want to go check that out for a full episode. Only a handful of witnesses claimed to actually see her. They saw her walking along the road towards the highway, and this is that highway. Like, it is, there's nothing out there, which means somebody must have put her in their car.
A man has been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter in connection with the death of ice hockey player Adam Johnson. The 29-year-old Nottingham Panthers player's throat was cut by an opponent's skate blade when they collided during a match. Johnson received immediate medical attention with CPR performed on the ice and was taken to hospital but could not be saved. Detectives arrested the suspect on Tuesday, who remains in custody.
Dirty animal facts.
I think I remember I seen that video trend on Twitter. It's just like, I don't know, it was just like trending everywhere. People yesterday have saying that the guy did it on purpose. And that was just a disturbing video, man. So looks like you got justice.
You wish you never knew, part 4. When a scorpion loses its tail, it also loses its anus. So if you pick it up by its tail, or it decides to sting something and can't let go, also then losing its anus. Not sure how it goes to the bathroom then, but that's not my problem. Madagascar hissing cockroaches are so loud they can actually be mistaken for an oncoming train. So next time you're walking somewhere and you think that you hear a train, it may just be a few cockroaches having a party. Don't forget to like and follow if you enjoy the series and want to see more.
Your wish is my command. Here are 3 animals that look like they're the spawn of Satan, but actually harmless. First up, we've got the basking shark. Now, don't get me wrong, if I saw this daddy behind me while I was swimming, I'd shit the equivalent to an average human in 1 year in 1 second. But believe it or not, they're actually chill. They're one of the boys. Now, yes, their mouth is so wide that they could theoretically fit your entire extended family in there. They're a passive predator, mainly feeding on zooplankton. And you won't end up in here because they're really not interested in humans. Bit fucking rude, but however, that isn't me saying you should go up to one and give it a big fucking hug. Maybe keep your social distance for this one. Next up, we've got what the fuck are you? This is an eye. Now, yes, if you were camping in the middle of the night and went out and saw this creature, I'd say you'd probably have a negative reaction. But this budget-ass gremlin and long middle finger is harmless. It doesn't go for humans, it goes for insects and grubs from tree trunks. You a fucking tree trunk? The worst it'll do is give you the biggest fuck-off middle finger of your life. Finally, we got the tailless whip scorpion. Oh yeah, quickly share the video and tag with a friend. Love ya! Now, you may recognize it from Harry Potter, but this little shit hurts it. They're harmless and not even venomous. Even provoked, they're chill. Elon!
Crazy animal facts, alright. Especially about that scorpion. I ain't messing with any of that, bro. Can't believe if you pick it up with its tail, that means you're picking it up by its anus, man. The more you know. Tap in with us, man. You're gonna learn some facts.
Dad's TikTok videos help find his son's killer. This is 19-year-old Luis Carlos Laguna Jr., and he was born on September 8th of 2004. He was from Arlington, Texas, and he had a passion for music, dancing, and his Chevy Silverado.
Alright.
November 18th, 2023, Luis had attended a ranch party in Fort Worth, Texas with his friends. As they were leaving, they got into an argument with another group of individuals. It was strictly verbal, just arguing back and forth. The two groups ended up separating, and Luis had went on his way with his friends. They all hopped into Luis's truck, and as the truck was leaving, someone shot behind Luis's truck and struck Luis. Luis was then transported to a local hospital in critical condition, but unfortunately passed away. The medical examiner's office confirmed that his cause of death was a gunshot wound to his head. Fort Worth Police Department had stated that they were still looking for a suspect, and if anyone had any kind of information to please come forward. Weeks started passing by, weeks turned into months, and still they had nothing. Luis's father, Carlos Laguna Sr., had started to post videos on his TikTok. He would post videos about memories with his son, then he started to talk about his son's case. Carlos did this in hopes that it would reach the right person, and that person would come forward with any information about his son's killer. About 5 months after Luis's death, a detective called Carlos to let him know that they had found Luis's killer. That person is 20-year-old Martin Ramirez Lopez, and he is currently sitting in jail charged with the murder of Luis. Detectives mentioned to Carlos that his TikTok videos did help and that someone had came forward. One thing about Carlos, he was not going to give up. Rest in peace to Luis, and he'd never be forgotten.
DJ said
Power of
his
TikTok.
main motive was
Do
that
some
David
good too.
smoked too much of their weed. So on the night of the 13th, David, DJ, Bradley, and Austin were all over at his house. They were hanging out in that camper trailer, they were smoking, hanging out, and DJ gave Eric some kind of signal. And then Eric got up and he left the room. He didn't stay out of the room for more than a few minutes. So I don't know if he was curious about how the murder was going or what, but he came back to be with the others eventually. Except at this point when he came back in, David wasn't in the room. DJ, Austin, and Bradley had locked him in a bathroom. Now David didn't seem too worried at this point. He actually thought his friends were just kind of messing around with him, maybe playing a prank, you get it. But then they let him out of the bathroom. They turned off the lights and they started beating him. And that's when David got really scared. He apparently begged them to stop, but nobody would. They even used to start pistol whipping him. So once they found a pretty remote area, they pulled David out of the car, they walked him into the woods, laid him on the ground, and then DJ shot him in the head. At least, that's how things happened the first time that Eric told his story. But the police made him come in for 2 other interrogations, and each time Eric gave them a confession, it would change. One of the biggest differences was that a couple of times Eric said that the killer was not DJ. It was someone who was listed in the police report as AB. Those are Austin Barrett's initials. By now, the detectives were convinced that Eric was the ringleader in all of this. Even if they didn't know who actually fired the fatal shot, they still had no idea what the motive was for David's murder, but they were confident that Eric was behind all of it,
The
and
mastermind.
that Austin, DJ, and Bradley helped him pull off this crime, and then helped dump the body.
Riley Strain's mom finally gave an interview to News Nation, and she talked about the final text that was sent from Riley to her about his drink. People have not talked about this case in a couple of weeks, and this is a pretty big break considering we still don't have footage from inside the bar. If you need a refresher on the case, Riley Strain, he was a fraternity brother who was down on a trip with his frat. He was down in Nashville, and he was kicked out of a bar. See him on camera when he hits the street level. He is hammered. He's completely gone. He's wandering aimlessly. He's alone. Eventually, he would vanish that night, and then following a 2-week search, his body was found without his pants, washed up in the Cumberland River. And a lot of dust that was kicked up on this case because a lot of people wanted to know about that drink, and now we have confirmation from his mother. And again, it's a lot to pack into one video. If you want some backstory on this, I've got an episode on it. Riley had apparently texted his mom that his drink at the bar, something was wrong with it. Adds even more suspicion to the GHB theory.
Marcus married his 15-year-old.
See, cause that's why, man, when you out and you stepping away, man, if you don't cover your drink, it's best to just order a new one because you don't know the type of time that people are on nowadays. They could try to slip some of your drink, try to take advantage. It's not even worth it, man. When you out, get a new drink or don't leave it at all, man. Or better yet, don't even drink. I always want to be aware of my surroundings.
old stepdaughter. My heart goes out to her. She was way too young to be dealing with anything like this. And even though their finances don't sound like they were especially stable, they kept having children. I mean, think pregnancy after pregnancy, because by the time she was 26 years old, Elizabeth had given birth, and this is not an exaggeration, 11 times. Now, given that the first pregnancy was when she was 15, that works out to a baby every single year. I can't even imagine. It's literally like you're pregnant for 10 years straight. Yep. That would be horrific. I didn't mind being pregnant, but that would be horrific. I mean, it honestly would be hard on anyone, but she was also so young that it would make it that much more difficult. Marcus basically stole her childhood away from her in so many different ways.
Crazy. She had no chance to even live her life. 11 years? She was pregnant every 1 year, bro. It's a sick story, man.
On Monday, April 15th, 21-year-old Thomas Elliott was inside a Target pretending to shop when he first began following a woman around the store. This woman said that she was shopping for clothes for her grandbaby when she noticed Elliott was standing way too close to her. And then she saw that he was holding his phone in a weird angle, pointing straight at her. She said her first thought was that this man may have been trying to Bluetooth her information from her phone onto his phone. She gave him this weird look like, "What the hell are you doing?" So he backed off and apologized and said that he was only looking at clothes that was hung beside her. So this woman walked away and continued to shop, but she still felt like something was off. She then noticed he was getting really close to another woman in the store, the same way he was doing to her. She thought this was too much of a coincidence, so she followed him around at a distance and wanted to see what he was up to. At this point, she felt like this guy was being really suspicious, so she put her phone in the cup holder of her shopping cart and began recording. And that's when she caught Elliott bent down with his phone and put his camera underneath this woman's dress. Behind me is one of the most famous true crime cases ever. And to this day, it still remains unsolved. This one is called Who Killed JonBenet? And I am partnering with Lifetime to bring you guys the best of the best for true crime film. JonBenet was absolutely gorgeous, and she was in many beauty pageants. She had a loving mother and father, and also a brother. Unfortunately, JonBenet was mysteriously murdered. There were several accusations against the parents, but no one really knows the real truth. JonBenet was absolutely precious and so kind with her personality. She was loved by so many. This has been one of the most talked about true crime cases over the years. And to be honest, it's one of the most intense ones. I feel this Lifetime movie did a great job portraying this case, and I think it's one that everybody should watch. You guys can watch this at mylifetime.com/watchripped.
This picture famously surfaced from 1941 because something looks very off about it. This guy, a lot of people cite this picture as proof of time travel because not only does he seemingly look very modern and out of place, but he also appears to be holding a camera that's very small, too small for any commercial grade camera of 1941. But let me explain why this is debunked. The modern t-shirt he's wearing, it's a logo for the Montreal Maroons, which was a hockey team from the 40s. The glasses were also available. They had protective side shields in the 40s too. But what about that camera? It's small enough to be a digital camera, but they did not have commercial grade cameras that were this small in the 40s. Incorrect. Kodak confirmed of a rare model of a small portable camera that was limited, but it was available by 1941, which makes this photo completely plausible.
They debunked that quick. Could there still be more truth to that, or could they debunk it because they don't want nobody else looking into the truth? Dig deeper into that story. What do you guys think?
Who would think selling unlimited 10-cent beers to sports fans is a bad idea? Not the Cleveland Indians when they played against the Texas Rangers on June 4th.
10 cents? It's a deal of a lifetime.
60,000 cups of beer being sold to the 25,000 people in attendance. That was incredibly problematic because there were only 50 security guards.
Yeah, that ain't going well.
Fans were growing increasingly intoxicated, throwing bottles and firecrackers on the field.
Whoa.
There were flashers and streakers. And this all culminated in the 9th inning when a fan tried to steal a player's cap and the Rangers came to their teammates' defense. The fans rushed the field with knives, chains, and stolen stadium seats. Players defended themselves with bats as they retreated into their dugouts, and the umpire declared the Rangers the winner by forfeit. Though they would put a 2-cup per person limit, the next 10-cent beer night was a month later.
They kept doing it. They didn't even learn from their mistakes. It's crazy. They're doing that nowadays. You know that ain't happening.
Look at Miranda seeming uncomfortable while Dan is touching her.
What can't you say? I mean, honest to God, I could go on and on.
All this stuff coming out about him.
All the wonderful qualities about Miranda, but I know time permits.
Like, why is he hugging her like that?
One thing. In all the years I've known Miranda, I guess 9 years now, she hasn't changed. Miranda hasn't changed one bit. All those awesome qualities.
Like, the need to touch her?
9 years old. All the goodness, all those smiles.
Let me know if I'm overreacting. And make sure you hit that follow button, because I have a whole deep dive coming.
Oh, he been getting
Breaking news in the
exposed.
case of what some are calling the Milwaukee serial killer. As you may remember, earlier this month, a critical missing persons warning was issued for Sade Robinson. She was last seen on Monday, April 1st. The following morning, authorities were notified about a car fire near her home. After further investigation, authorities were able to determine that the vehicle fire was that of Robinson's. Later that day, authorities say a community member located a leg in a park. This park was less than 10 miles away from Robinson's home. Furthermore, authorities said that Robinson went on a date on April 1st, the same day that she went missing. Authorities say that the two met at a restaurant where the suspect worked. The bartender who used to work there with the suspect said that they were seen having, quote, casual conversations. This was before leaving together. The two then reportedly went to another bar before they went back to the suspect's home. On Friday, 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson was charged in connection with the crime. The following day, the sheriff's department located another body part near the scene of the car fire. During the weekend that followed, additional remains were also located near a site where the remains had been discovered on April 5th. Authorities said cell phone data ultimately led them to the arrest. After taking the suspect into custody, they said that there was BLOOD located inside of his home. However, they have now released information stating that that BLOOD is not the victim's. A lieutenant who is a former Milwaukee investigator and who also worked on the Jeffrey Dahmer case said that this is not surprising to him. He said, quote, they haven't said whose BLOOD it is, but it could be his. He finished by saying, quote, I don't think this leads to the suspicion that there are other victims out there. At this time, he has pled not guilty and is being held on a $5 million bond. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
Here's 5 celebrities you didn't know killed somebody and what exactly went down. The last 2 are particularly weird and creepy. Tennis superstar Venus Williams got into a car accident in June 2017, which left 1 man dead. Williams was driving in Palm Beach, Florida, when she rushed into an intersection despite not having the right of way, and she was T-boned by the car. The car's driver survived, but her husband, 78-year-old man, was sent to the ICU, where he died 2 weeks later. Alec Baldwin discharged a prop gun that led to the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of his movie Rust in New Mexico on October 21st, 2021.
Saw that.
Authorities with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said that they were investigating the incident and trying to determine what type of projectile was discharged exactly. No charges have been made since the incident, and Baldwin, who is both a star and producer for the film, cooperated with authorities. Baldwin even released a statement the day after the incident to let the public know how devastated he was, as well as the fact that he was fully cooperating with the police investigation and that he was in touch with the late cinematographer's family and husband. In 1993, Snoop Dogg and his bodyguard were charged with the murder of a rival gang member. Snoop was defended by attorney Johnny Cochran and was acquitted after years and years of court battles. In 1978, Sex Pistols bassist Sid Vicious fatally stabbed his girlfriend Nancy Spungen. When he was first questioned, he claimed to have found her dead on the bathroom floor of their hotel room, but he later admitted that he had stabbed her but didn't actually intend to kill her. Although he was charged with her murder, Vicious never actually stood trial as he died of a drug overdose while out on bail. In 2012, Smallville and Sons of Anarchy actor Johnny Lewis broke into the home of an 81-year-old woman called Catherine David, ransacked her home, and then killed her and her cat. He was never questioned as he actually fell or jumped from a roof and died straight after. It was later revealed that he had been born into a Scientologist family and worked for the church's drug rehab group, Narconon. Despite a history of drug abuse, though, the autopsy report showed that he actually had no drugs or alcohol in his system at the time of his death.
Ooh. It's like there's some dark secrets, man, behind the Hollywood wall, man, that I learned every single day watching these videos, you guys. That first story you saw, I never even knew something like that even happened, man, to the Williams sisters. Damn. Hollywood it's like so dark, man, behind the scenes. You gotta seek the truth, man.
Have you ever heard the crazy story on how the show To Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen got canceled? If you've never seen that show before, it was so ahead of its time. So basically, Chris Hansen and his team would go online and pretend to be children or teenagers and chat with online predators, and then invite the creeps over, saying like, my parents aren't home. Then the creeps would go over to what they thought was a child's home, but be greeted with Chris Hansen and get arrested. Typically the men that they would catch on the show would be lowlifes with no real influence in society at all. Until Texas District Attorney Bill Conrad started chatting with one of the show's online decoys, sending inappropriate photos to what he thought was an underage boy. On every single episode of the show, they had to convince these online creeps to actually meet up in person. But Bill didn't want to meet in person. This is complete speculation, but I'm assuming that the network knew that catching a district attorney on their show would be really good for ratings. And since Bill did not want to meet, they took camera crew, police officers, SWAT teams, and raided Bill's home. This is unlike anything the show had done before. And with cameras rolling, before they were even able to speak with him, Bill Conrad unalived himself. People that were at the scene apparently immediately started talking about how this was going to make really good TV. And Dateline did go on to air an episode that featured Bill. But there was some controversy, of course. The judge that signed the search and arrest warrant apparently said that they were never made aware that a reality TV show was involved in this arrest at all, and so if they had known, they would never have signed it. Experts have also said that the raid was unnecessary drama for the cameras and put everyone involved in unnecessary danger. And that the investigation was just rushed in general because this was reality TV and they wanted a quick turnaround for the episode. Bill's sister did go on to file a wrongful death lawsuit against NBC, which was settled for an undisclosed amount. And within months of this all happening, the very popular TV show was canceled. There's so much controversy about how this all went down, but what do you think? And if you were a fan of this show, did you ever hear about this before?
This girl took her mom's life on Facebook Live. On January 8th of this year, 28-year-old Tananzin Oris Beltran went with her mom, 55-year-old Olivia Lucia Beltran, to a Santa Rosa police station. Tananzin needed to go there because she needed to pick up her vehicle after it was impounded following an earlier chase. While at the police station, she filmed herself waving an open pocket knife in front of everybody. An officer stated that she was too mentally unstable to drive, but they still let her go home. At 5 p.m. that same day, Tananzin was on Facebook Live when she stabbed her mother. Viewers of the live ended up contacting police to let them know what they had just witnessed. When officers arrived to the scene, they noticed that Tananzin was on her balcony holding a knife in her hand. Right next to her was her mother, and her clothes were just soaked in blood. Tananzin failed to respond to commands, so a group of officers broke through the front door and she was arrested. Olivia suffered from numerous stab wounds and was rushed to a local hospital. Unfortunately, the surgeons were unable to overcome the extensive life-threatening injuries and she passed away. Detectives worked with Meta/Facebook and had the video removed. Tananzin was arrested on one count of murder and was being held without bail at Marin County Jail. To this day, there is still no clear motive on why she did this to her mother.
This man willingly allowed himself to be eaten alive by a cannibal. 43-year-old Armando Brands was an engineer from Berlin who always fantasized about being cannibalized by another human being. So, in 2001, he began searching the website Cannibal Cafe, which was, yes, a legitimate website, for anyone willing to cook him and eat him. On the Cannibal Cafe website, that Brands met 30-year-old computer technician Armin Muse. Armin also had a fantasy of cannibalizing human flesh, and so over the next few weeks, him and Brands messaged each other back and forth, discussing the best way to cook Brands' flesh and then dispose of his body after they were done. Finally, on March 9, 2001, Armando traveled to Armin's apartment and willingly allowed himself to be tied up before Armin began to try and chew off Armando's penis. Armin found that the penis was too chewy to bite off, so he instead castrated Armando with a knife before frying his severed penis in olive oil and then feeding it to him. After this, Armin proceeded to kill Armando by stabbing him in the neck and letting him bleed out in the bathtub for over 3 hours before he finally succumbed to his wounds. After Armando died, Armin proceeded to cut up his body into large chunks, storing them in a freezer, and over the next 6 months he would consume over 44 pounds of Armando's flesh. Armin would be caught 6 months later after looking for another victim on the Cannibal Cafe website. Now, at first, prosecutors weren't sure how to go about this case because Armando willingly allowed all this to happen, and they know this because Armin recorded the entire thing, the castration, eating of the penis, and the entire time Armando was telling Armin that he wanted more. However, since people can't consent to their own murder, Armin was eventually found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. However, to this day, he still gets weekly visits out to the city where he can roam about and do as he pleases.
How the hell can he just get weekly roamings? And a website like that, man, actually existed. Blow my damn mind, man. Nowadays, man, I shouldn't be surprised, but you probably type in anything, man, on the web, it'll pop right back up, man. Stuff that shouldn't even be allowed, like cannibalism. Somebody want to be eaten online, and they found it just like that. It's internet, man. It gives you too much easy access to things we shouldn't have.
Because you are guilty, aren't you? Are you guilty, sir?
I accept my plea. Exactly.
Much as it was my honor and privilege to hear the sister survivors, it is my honor and privilege to sentence you. Because, sir, you do not deserve to walk outside of a prison ever again. You have done nothing to control those urges. The decision to assault was precise, calculated, manipulative, devious, despicable. I'm giving you 175 years, which is 2,100 months. I just signed your death warrant.
Damn.
I need everyone to be quiet.
These villagers
Wasn't I think I remember seeing that case. Wasn't he like already? But didn't he work with like the Olympic team or something like that? And how he had that many access, man, because he was like a sports coach or something. And he got what he deserved. She signed, like she said, she signed his death warrant, man. They were clap, as they should have been, bro.
up their dead family members every 3 years, and you won't believe why. These people are from a village in Indonesia, and during their Reneem festival, they get their ancestors' corpses, clean them, then put them all out to dry, and dress them in new clothes as a ritual. And the reason is because they believe they're showing them love and respect.
Different cultures have different, they do different things, but it's kind of bizarre, man. Could you guys do that? I can't even think about doing that, burying up, digging up your loved ones.
The Legend of Bunny Man Bridge. In 1904, not far from this bridge in Fairfax County, Virginia, was a mental asylum. Nearby residents didn't like the fact that mental patients were near their new homes, so they had it shut down. While the patients were being transported, their bus crashed and all were found except for one. A patient named Douglas Griffin, who disappeared into the nearby woods. In the upcoming weeks, bodies of rabbits were found strewn about the woods as if someone was eating them. On Halloween night, Douglas Griffin struck and killed a group of teenagers that were hanging out underneath of the bridge. They were gutted and hanged like dead rabbits. Now there is a ton of variations of this urban legend, but there is a slight bit of truth behind the origin of it. There was a police report from 1970 that said a person dressed in all white threw a hatchet at somebody's car. And the person had something on their heads. And that is where people filled in the blanks with it being rabbit ears. There was another report of a man running around with a hatchet in a bunny suit also in 1970. Who knows, maybe there really was a killer bunny man.
This man has been sentenced to
the bunny man, we believe it?
prison after doing the unthinkable to his daughter.
Tony Valez is a 66-year-old from Helena. On the 10th of July 2022, he was at home with his partner Heather. Tony's 8-year-old daughter Ariana and his 18-year-old son were also at the house at the time. Suddenly, 2 women entered the property who he believed were evicting him. He flew into a violent rage and grabbed a weapon from his bedroom. At this point, he began shooting. He shot Heather and she fell to the floor, and then he shot at his son. His 8-year-old daughter tried to escape and run from the terror, but she was hit with gunfire. She was on the stairs when she was hit by a bullet and she fell back. She tragically died after being rushed to hospital. After his daughter's death, Tony stated, "I'm sorry for all this. I can't undo what I've done. The pain and the misery will last a lifetime, and I'm sorry for all that." Tony was sentenced to serve 100 years in prison.
This is the most unsettling show I've seen.
Disturbing things.
Netflix just released a show called Baby Reindeer, where a man named Donnie is relentlessly stalked by a middle-aged woman named Martha. But it's based on a real story, and the guy it happened to is playing the main character. So let's talk about the real events the show portrays. So in the show, Martha's obsession with Donnie starts after he offers a cup of tea for free. And according to the creator, that is really what started her 4-year obsession with him. Also, over the course of the stalking, the real Martha sent the creator 41,071 emails, 744 tweets, 46 Facebook messages, 106 pages of letters, and 350 hours of voicemail
She was
messages.
dedicated.
And the real texts and emails are featured in the show. One of the saddest real details of the show is that the creator does go to the police to try to report Martha, and they totally brush him off. They just don't feel like she's enough of a threat, even though she's showing up to all of his comedy shows, she's sending him that many messages, and she fully believes they're in a relationship. And the show is really interesting in that it portrays the gray area that the creator, Richard Gadd, faced while experiencing being stalked. This is a bit of a spoiler, but he himself was a survivor of sexual assault, so in a way, this kind of undying love was something that he craved. And in interviews, he says that he's not purely a victim, that this situation is really gray because sometimes he would indulge in the attention that she gave him. It's definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it already. It does get very intense at times, but let me know if you've seen it.
I seen that scrolling through Netflix a couple times on a recommended, but I really didn't know what it was about. But now that it's broken down for us, man. Any fellow seekers, they gonna check it out, man? Should I check it out? You guys can leave a review. Might have to check that out. Edit. Call it like I see it.
His life was taken for laugh reacting to a Facebook photo.
No way.
This is 18-year-old Isaiah Craig Fitzgerald, and he was from Missouri. On May 25th of 2023, Isaiah had came across this photo of 20-year-old Tanner Watkins and his girlfriend. He reacts to the Facebook photo with a laughing emoji. Tanner ends up responding to Isaiah saying, "What's funny?" and an argument begins. Tanner then ends up telling Isaiah that they should meet at a park to fight after a heated exchange.
Emoji?
At the agreed upon location, shots were fired from both vehicles. Isaiah was fatally shot and his girlfriend was seriously wounded. Police had responded to the scene after receiving reports of gunfire, and they stopped both vehicles as they were leaving. Isaiah was pronounced dead and his girlfriend was transported to a local hospital where doctors treated her injuries. Officers ended up confiscating weapons from both vehicles. Tanner and 18-year-old Caleb Ramsey were both taken into custody. Both pled not guilty to all charges and were acquitted in December of 2023. The judge had ordered a mistrial after the jury could not agree on a verdict. Tanner and Caleb were charged with 3 counts of murder, 3 counts of assault, unlawful use of a weapon, and 4 counts of armed criminal action.
The most terrifying prisoners of all time. This is Jamie Osuna, the man with 1,000 faces. In 2017, Jamie was sentenced to life in prison for the 2011 murder and torture of a woman from Bakersfield. During his court case, you can see him smirking, rolling his eyes, and mocking the family of the deceased, even giving a thumbs up as the judge announces his sentence. From there, he is transported to Corcoran State Prison, where things got worse. Way worse. He is given a cellmate, Luis Romero, who had spent more than 2 decades in prison himself. On March 9th, 2019, guards checked their cell and find the most gruesome scene. Romero had been beheaded and several of his body parts were removed and fashioned into a necklace worn by Jamie. Ha 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 had been written on the wall in blood, as well as the man with 1,000 faces.
Someone that freaking dangerous, man. He had to be probably put into solitary, like, as soon as he got there, man, because obviously during the case you showed, saying they were showing no remorse, man, putting a thumbs up during the trial, and telling man those are the most dangerous people, man, who can do an action like that and have no remorse. And look what happened. The man with 1,000 faces, man. Crazy. Haha, blood or something like the Joker would do.
Prosecutors in the Brian Coburger case have said that they are not buying his alibi. Coburger's defense has spent months giving very few details about his alibi, essentially only saying that he was out driving around the night of the murders and that nobody could corroborate this. But then a couple weeks ago, they said that they have an expert witness that can testify about Coburger's cell phone movements the night of the murders, placing him away from the house. But prosecutors are not buying it, and specifically, they said, quote, the defendant's alibi lacks specificity and state the specific place or places at which the defendant claims to have been at the time of the alleged offense, and the names and addresses of the witnesses upon whom he intends to rely to establish such alibi, according to Idaho Code 19-519. So essentially, the prosecution is saying that Coburger's alibi is not specific enough, and just because an expert witness can testify about his cell phone movements does not mean that it's a corroborating alibi, and that they need specific witnesses to be able to verify his alibi for it to be a proper alibi. The next hearing for the case has been scheduled for May 2nd. Other updates in the Coburger case include that prosecutors are also moving to have the following hearing after the May 2nd hearing on May 14th be under seal. This is essentially to protect the information that is being disseminated to the public that could potentially taint the jury pool. And speaking of the potential jury pool, the judge has ruled that the defense can continue their surveys of the potential jury pool to determine if the potential jury pool knows about Brian Coburger, because the defense is trying to get a change of venue. But that's all for the latest updates with Brian Coburger. Things are just continuing to slowly move along.
The longest prison sentence
justice in that case.
At number 5 is Joseph Legend. He has served 67 years and 54 days in prison, and he was released earlier this year. He was convicted of murder at the age of 15. He was released at 83. At number 4 is Joseph Phillips, who served 68 years and 236 days. He was convicted in 1952 of raping a 5-year-old girl. He was paroled in March 2021. Third, with only 9 more days in prison, is Paul Goodell Jr. He served 68 years and 245 days. He was incarcerated in 1911 at the age of 17. He was released in 1980 at the age of 86. Once released, he died in a retirement home 7 years later at the age of 93.
That time,
in second place, and the only non-American on the list, is an Australian man by the name of Charles Fawcett. He was sentenced to life imprisonment after murdering an elderly man and stealing his boots. And before number 1, right, I'll go to prison next in the comments and leave your autocorrect finished. He'll write that you'll go to jail. And in number 1, it's Francis Clifford Smith. He's currently serving 72 years and 90 days. He was also sentenced to death for the murder of a night watchman on his way out of a nightclub. But his sentence was changed to life imprisonment in 1954, 2 hours before his scheduled execution. He was lucky.
Changed just like that. All that time gone. Basically, if you get over 50 or 60 years, that's a life sentence, man. Once you get out, all that time's wasted, man. Think before you act.
Signs of a societal collapse in a country are so often things you would never even think about. For example, a shocking study was recently published showing a concerning rise in people being found so long after death in the UK that their body had decomposed. And we're not talking about just days and weeks here. The study cited a number of cases like 38-year-old Laura Winham, who struggled with mental health problems and was found in a mummified, almost skeletal state at her flat in 2021, more than 3 years after she had died. She passed away in 2017, 3 years before the pandemic even began. The body of another 61-year-old woman, Shalia, was found badly decomposed in her flat in London in 2022, 2 years after she had died. The study said that men were more than twice as likely as women to be discovered long after her death in a decomposed state, and also linked this tragic trend to loneliness, societal breakdown, and a loss of people's social connection. And that is sadly why
a 20-year-old cold case has had a major breakthrough after an eerie twist led to police identifying a teenage girl's remains. Midtown Jane Doe was found mysteriously entombed in cement in a former New York hotspot during construction in 2003. Investigators believe she was fatally strangled, bound with electrical wire, and wrapped in a carpet before being cemented into the building's basement. Now, Midtown Jane Doe has been identified as Patricia Kathleen McGlone, a girl from Brooklyn who was last seen in the late 1960s. DNA from a woman killed in the 9/11 attacks, also named Patricia, helped authorities identify the girl, as the two were related.
Gruesome facts
They both had the name Patricia, man, and that link is what led to that case breaking all those years ago. The things that they freaking line up in the universe in order for that to happen. This is crazy if you think about it.
You Didn't Know, Part 262. On August 17th of 1980, 9-week-old Azaria Chamberlain disappeared from the tent during a family camping trip. Mother Lindy reported she saw a wild dog leaving the tent and believed that her baby had been taken by dingoes in the Australian outback. Despite a frantic search, nothing was found and no body was ever discovered. Extensive press coverage of the incident portrayed the couple as monsters, and they received multiple death threats. Believing that the police were feeding information to the media, the entire court case was a madhouse and the public opinion hugely divided. Some believing they murdered their own child, others believing that dingoes really did take their baby. Their religious background stirred up rumors that cult-like activity had taken place, and at the time, dingoes were not generally seen as dangerous. But despite all the horrible and negative publicity, Lindy and husband Michael continued to plead their innocence. But on October 29th of 1982, she was sentenced to life in prison for murder, with Michael being charged as an accessory and sentenced to 18 months. After she spent 4 long years in prison and had no more legal routes to take, new evidence was discovered. Azaria's jacket was found partially buried in a highly populated dingo area. This led to her prison release in 1988, and both her and Michael were completely exonerated of all charges. In 2012, a coroner issued the final report on the case, confirming that their baby had been taken and eaten by dingoes.
So she was right all along, man. It goes to show you how sometimes, like, public opinion, it's a powerful thing, man, because if you get the public on your side, it can get people to believe anything, even if it's untrue. Scary times we live in.
Breaking news, the remains of 6 women have been found inside of a man's apartment. Authorities say the investigation began when he allegedly broke into a neighbor's apartment on April 16th. From there, he essayed and strangled a 17-year-old girl. The victim's mother returned home shortly after and saw the man leaving. It was at that point he slashed her throat and then fled. According to authorities, the mother was able to survive, however, the daughter did not. With the mother's assistance, they were able to identify the suspect only as, quote, Miguel. After the incident, they searched his apartment and, quote, clearly indicated we are looking at a possible serial killer of women. Authorities also confirmed that notebooks were located that, quote, may well be narrations of the acts that Miguel carried out against his victims. In addition, they found cell phones and ID cards belonging to multiple women. They said that 5 of the ID cards found belonged to women who have been located alive. However, they did not specify how many belonged to women who are still missing or deceased. Prosecutors did confirm that there were remains of 6 women found in his rented room. Quote, other biological material was also found in the rooms. In addition to the ID cards and cell phones found, they also found bones, BLOOD, and a saw. At this time, authorities have not provided any further details. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments.
This is a cannibal that used the gay dating app Grindr to find victims so he could eat them. So on Christmas Eve 2019, 25-year-old Kevin Bacon told his roommate that he was going out for the evening to meet up with a man that he had recently been talking to on the dating app Grindr. Now, after 3 days, Kevin failed to come home or contact any of his friends or family, and they started to get worried, and they eventually went to the police to issue a missing person warning. Later on the day that he was reported missing, Kevin's car was actually found abandoned in a parking lot, along with all of his clothes and his cell phone. Using his cell phone, police were able to actually access his Grindr account and see that the last person he had messaged on there was a man named Mark Lutunsky. Police were able to track down Mark Lutunsky, and they asked him if they could look around his house for a bit, and he actually happily agreed. However, when police went down to the basement, they made an absolutely horrific discovery. Hanging from the rafters by his ankles was the nude body of Kevin Bacon. His throat had been slashed, his body had been drained of blood, and most shocking of all, he had actually been castrated. Upon further questioning, Mark happily admitted that he had actually castrated Kevin and then brought up his testicles and ate them, and that he was planning to use a food dehydrator on the rest of Kevin's body so he could preserve it and eat it later. After Mark was arrested for the death of Kevin, police actually discovered that he had had several previous run-ins with the law in the months leading up to the death. 2 men on 2 previous occasions actually called 911 stating they had escaped from Mark's basement after he drugged them, tied them up, and was planning to torture them. In both cases, police just chalked it up to a gay dispute, and they didn't actually look further into it. Mark was quickly found guilty of Kevin's death, and now he's currently serving life in prison.
This man
Gotta follow up on the
vanished from the
details,
top of a
man.
mountain in New York and was found 6 days later in California with no memory how he got there. This is easily one of the most bizarre disappearances and reappearances that I've ever heard of. If you've never heard of this story before, buckle up because it's wild. 49-year-old Canadian firefighter Danny was skiing at White Base Mountain in New York when he vanished. It was the last day of their ski trip. All of Danny's friends had gotten tired and had headed back down to the ski lodge to wait for Danny, who wanted to do one more trip down the mountain, but Danny never returned. Danny was missing on top of one of the highest mountains in the area. Everyone's thinking that there must have been some kind of terrible accident. All of Danny's belongings are still back at his resort: his car, his passport, his ID, his phone. A huge manhunt was being done on the mountain, but as the days went by, the chances of finding Danny alive were slim. Then, 6 days after he vanished, Danny was found alive on the complete other side of the country, over 2,500 miles away in California. Danny was still wearing the ski outfit that he disappeared in 6 days earlier, with a new haircut, a new cell phone, and no memory of the past 6 days. Eventually, Danny was able to recall that he believes that he was the passenger in a big rig truck at one of those points and thought that he must have suffered some kind of head injury. But he had an examination at a hospital that found that he had 0 injuries at all. Extensive investigations were done in both California and New York that brought forth no answers. 6 months after Danny disappeared, he was able to recall a couple more big details, but honestly it wasn't much. Now here are some of the most highly believed theories that you can find online. Could Danny have gotten a concussion on the mountain that resulted in some kind of memory loss? It sounds plausible, but a lot of doctors that have looked at this case have said that it's unlikely because memory loss after head trauma usually only lasts at most 48 hours, not 6 days. And apparently Danny didn't even have any injuries to begin with when he was found. Some also believe that maybe Danny was abducted by aliens who dropped him back off on the wrong side of the country. Some people also believe that maybe Danny wanted to disappear on purpose and start a new life, but then got cold feet. Honestly, I have no idea what I think happened. This story for real sounds like something out of fiction. To this day, we still have no idea what happened to Danny during those 6 days that he was missing, but let me know what you think happened.
Let's seek the truth. A real life pixie? Or was that an edit? What do you guys think about that one?
This exotic bat with an overdeveloped face, first found in Kenya, could be the carrier of many bad things animal wildlife officials fear. Its large head does not look like any bat ever seen before, and its eyes look very big as well. You don't get to see its teeth though, but I can only assume they are as massive as the rest of its cranium. To make matters worse, most of these strange bats start to appear throughout the area. No one knows where they came from, or what has caused them to have such mutated features. If this new species does carry some sort of strange disease, I really hope they are able to quarantine it and keep it from spreading to other parts of the world. Number 6. A man takes a picture stance and the camera person quickly backs away. Moments later, you get to see what they were so afraid of.
What?
What the fuck?
An overhead tomahawk throw deeply embeds a pair of scissors into the exact place that she was just standing. Slowly, they realize just how close he came to sending his friend to the hospital.
Damn.
Look again and you can see that would have gotten her in the midsection if she hadn't moved away in time. If it goes that deep into solid wood, imagine how much deeper the scissors would have gone. Number 5.
Ooh.
Michael and Durez is in a car full of friends when they hear a distant voice call out from the nearby woods. I didn't really hear much the first time I watched, but when they slow it down, you can clearly hear someone say something like, "Help me, guys." I think this
Really?
should be paranormal, because it doesn't sound like a normal human voice at all. Theoretically speaking, a person screaming at a speeding car with the windows rolled up would almost certainly not be heard by anybody inside. Number 4.
Okay.
This video was taken years ago when Justin Bieber had to go to court. Wearing an orange jumpsuit, he looks straight at the camera with a very serious expression, and his eyes change into creepy off-white color. He blinks again and then quickly looks away. A YouTuber named RyGuyVA captured this video, and as you can see at the end, he is recording a live broadcast on his flat-screen TV. This means this is either an error with the news equipment, or else something we will never be able to properly explain.
4K.
Stop scrolling, because if you like paranormal, you're going to want to see this. And it is semi-disturbing, but I just need to know, is this real, or is this the ultimate hoax? Do you believe in mermaids? Because supposedly one just washed up on the beaches of Kenya. I'm going to show you a video in a minute, but my mind is blown. Tell me in the comments what you think, and I'm going to show you the video. Trigger warning. It's fucking crazy.
Check this out.
It's grunting.
Now, what do you guys think about that, Seekers, man? We've been watching these past couple of videos how they said they do believe, in Kenya, over that part of the world, they do believe in the mermaids and things like that. Mermaids are sirens, so was that a mermaid, siren, something else? Mutation going on? What do you guys think? It's a creepy one.
The paranormal chick here. Take a look at this video that was captured around August 12, 2023 in Kenya. The witness was actually able to capture 2 videos of this truly unexplainable object. Is this a UFO? It's definitely not a drone nor a plane. But what exactly did he record? Take a look and tell me what you think.
Ain't no shooting star. What the hell is that? I don't think that's a drone either. Nah. Go back and forth. Is he trying to make a shape or something? Another one. How come I ain't seen this shit trending on Twitter, man? They trying to hide this stuff from us? It's 2 of them. I thought it was just one. The more you know, Seekers. What do you guys think that was? I need your help down below.
This beautiful house here has never been occupied for the last 30 years, since the locals believe that it is infested located in a place called Ruiru, 30 kilometers from the city of Nairobi. What makes the house more creepy is the design that looks similar to Freemason hole. Locals claim that at night, voices will be heard from the house. And if you had courage to live there, you had to prepare for unseen forces. Others even claim that there was a lady who moved to live in the house with her family. She did have information that every man who lived in that house died and the wife becomes a widow. There was also another tenant who applied to move in with his family. And that by the time they moved them upstairs, they found that the other things that they had taken up were already arranged. And they ignored because they were tired. At night, windows started opening and banging heavily from invisible forces. Early the next morning, they left without asking for the refund of their paid rent. An Indian businessman also rented the house and burnt incense inside the house to appease the spirits. 6 months later, the locals saw him running out of the compound and was never seen again. The question is the house really haunted, or are these just stories created by the locals?
You guys think, man, there's a couple of freaking creepy stories that a family's moving in and weird crap happening, and they moved out. Me, I'm not even taking that chance. I'll say if a house is something haunted, man, there's a history behind it. Deuces, I'm gone, bro. I don't do those bad spirits, man. Is that a cloud? Okay. What's going on with them? Why are they walking like that in emotion?
In the late 1980s, in the city of Mombasa, Kenya, something truly terrifying occurred. It was nighttime, and I was driving back home all alone when I noticed a beautiful young lady standing by the roadside. She asked for a lift, but I couldn't understand why she was out there in the middle of nowhere by herself. Despite my confusion, I decided to stop and give her a lift. She said she needed to go home and that she couldn't find anyone late at this time, so I agreed to take her back to her place. As we drove, I realized we were heading to an unfamiliar and isolated area. It was a deserted road with nothing but darkness and emptiness all around. We drove for about 45 minutes to an hour away from the city. Wow. I became curious and asked her when we would reach at her place, but she assured me it was nearby. We had a long talk while driving, and she seemed fairly like a normal person. Eventually, we arrived, and I saw her house was in terrible shape. It looked old and abandoned, with nothing nearby, just trees and overgrown grass. I asked her, "Do you live here?" She replied, "Yes, I have lived here for the past 60 years, even though she looked much younger. When she got out of the car, she invited me to stay the night since it was already late. As I was already feeling tired, I accepted her offer without any hesitation and entered the house. I fell asleep within minutes after laying down on the bed, but when I woke up the next day, I was terrified by what I saw. I found myself in a cemetery, sleeping between two graveyards. Panic surged through me, and I fled from that place as quickly as I could and drove back home. It took me a month to return to my normal life after this incident, though the experience still haunts me to this day, and I've never stayed out late at night since then.
Try to bury him alive or something, man? It's too trusting.
The equatorial
Okay.
sun dips low on the Kenyan horizon, casting long, spectral shadows among the stone ruins of an ancient city. This is Gedi, a silent and deserted testament to a civilization that has long since passed into the annals of time. Our journey takes us into the labyrinthine alleys, once bustling with the life and chatter of Swahili culture. Now, only the whispering wind moves through the abandoned structures, carrying with it a chilling echo of laughter that once filled these streets. As we venture deeper, are you starting to feel the shivers of unease? Can you hear the whispers of the past? Drop a comment below and let us know. In the heart of the city, under the skeletal remains of what was once a grand palace, reports tell of spectral sightings. Phantom figures, their forms vague and blurred by the ravages of time, seem to stand guard over their long-forgotten home. The air is dense with unseen energy, as though the very spirits of the past still linger, locked in an eternal dance with the ruins. The myths of the locals tell tales of the jinn, supernatural beings born of smokeless fire, acting as the ethereal sentinels of this abandoned city. And then there's the laughter, a disembodied sound that seems to hang in the still air. A joyous echo from an era long past, yet it brings an unsettling feeling of being watched, of intruding on a space where ancient specters continue their ageless existence. As we draw our exploration to a close, under the vast, starlit African sky, one cannot help but feel a profound sense of connection with the spectral denizens of Gedi. The chilling whispers, ghostly figures, and inexplicable laughter serve as a reminder that, in some places, the past refuses to be forgotten. As the haunting image of Gedi ruins fades from your screen, tell us, would you dare to visit this ancient, spectral city after dark? Could you brave the whispers of the past and the laughter of unseen specters?
No!
Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling explorations into the world's most haunted places.
I don't think I could. That's a no for me. Too much bad energy over there. Dang, they file their teeth. It's like every, you can culture do things differently, man. But to file their teeth and say that was a sign of beauty. How can you do that? That must hurt, bro. You filing all your teeth like that? Oof. The more you know, man. What the? Oh no, I hit the jets, but we out. What the hell was that follow? I'm hitting the jets.
There lived a little boy called Kofi. He was as mischievous as he was curious. Kofi often pushed the boundaries set by his parents. Parents would gather their little ones around the fire recounting the story of the Wasaka. It spoke of a mysterious creature, a fearsome being from the depths of hell that prowled in the darkness, seeking out disobedient children. The tale was passed down through generations, a cautionary reminder of the importance of obedience and respect. Unbeknownst to Kofi, his disobedient ways had caught the attention of the Wasaka. The creature watched from the shadows, its presence concealed by the darkness. Late one night, as Kofi snuck out of his home, the creature materialized before him, its eyes burning like embers in the night. Kofi froze, his heart pounding in his chest. The Wasaka spoke with a voice that resonated through the night. It recounted the tales of disobedient children who had crossed its path, only to face dire consequences for their actions. With each word, Kofi's fear transformed into remorse. He saw the pain and disappointment his own actions had caused his parents. The Wasaka vanished into the night, leaving behind a sense of responsibility and a newfound understanding of the importance of obedience. From that day forward, Kofi became a changed boy. He listened and followed attentively to his parents' guidance and wisdom.
Gotcha. Shapeshifter confirmed.
Please listen to me when I say that today's case is a current investigation and it is disturbing and ongoing. So if you don't want to listen to something that might distress you, please just skip this. It's okay.
Seek the truth over
2
here.
weeks ago, a horrific discovery was made in the Shakahola forest in Kenya. There was a mass grave filled with 90 corpses, the majority of which were children. There were so many bodies that the police had to stagger the search for them. as the local morgues were just getting overcrowded and full. And so the authorities had to reach out to the Kenya Red Cross for refrigerated containers to store the bodies as they waited in line for an autopsy. The grim discovery, understandably, has totally shocked Kenya, but things got worse when they learned why this mass grave occurred. The dead, wrapped in cotton shrouds, had belonged to a strange cult in Kenya, which cult leader Paul Mackenzie Nathenge led. He had taught his followers that the only way to meet with God truly was by starving oneself to death. Now, this sort of twisted teaching is even more shocking when investigators have subsequently learned that Nathenge and his fellow leaders were eating and drinking as normal, urging their followers to fast until they died of hunger, while the leaders ate on. These kids were starved, often at the urging of their own parents, who had become convinced that it was the only way for them to escape the turmoil of this world and to meet with their creator. This cult, by the way, is called Good News International Church. It's a kind of pseudo-Christian cult, and it had a sickening hierarchy to this. They taught that the children had to starve themselves to death first, then the women, and then finally the men would follow, hence why over half of the bodies were children, and most of the rest were women. And so 34 members of this cult were found alive in the forest, which is near the coastal town of Malindi. Some of them were just hiding in the bushes and were close to death after following the teachings of their leader. Now, the president of Kenya, a guy called William Ruto, vowed to crack down on these rogue and dangerous cults. And like I say, people are just traumatized and horrified. Now, the leader, this Paul Mackenzie Nathenge, was a former taxi driver who then became a televangelist and founded this cult in 2003. Now, he had already been arrested back in 2017 for urging parents not to send their children to school because he believed that education was unbiblical. And he was arrested again last month after 2 children starved themselves to death while being looked after by their cult member parents.
How'd he get out?
Now, this happened 2 weeks ago, like I said. But since then, new details have emerged because investigators have uncovered more to this case. Firstly, the death rate has rose since then. Now it's 133, and they're expecting that figure to rise again. But the autopsies on all those bodies, so not all of them, but a lot of them I think, have been completed, and they've revealed something. Starvation does appear to be the leading cause of death, but some of the victims, including the children, were murdered and beaten, strangled and suffocated. What's more, the autopsy revealed that the children had missing organs, which means that this cult was harvesting the children's organs to sell.
For money.
Believe it or not, the human body organ trade does actually exist. Sometimes they're sold for religious purposes with claims that body parts, particularly of children, can have magical or healing properties. As for this cult leader behind all of this, Paul Nathenge, well, he was granted bail last Thursday.
How?
However, prosecutors are pleading for him to be held in custody until the investigation is complete.
Yeah.
I'll watch this story and keep an eye on it and let you know of any significant updates, but I just thought it was remarkable enough and sad enough to bring to your attention that these things happen. Well, if you want more spooky, strange, and, well, I guess disturbing stories like this, you can follow me on TikTok or check out my Scary True Stories show, Frightful. It's a podcast. It's available all over the place for free. I've just finished an episode all about imaginary friends, and that explores the paranormal and supernatural elements of that. Or if you're into reading, then you can maybe check out some of my books on Amazon. Just search Peter Laws. Thanks.
That was a freaking sickening case, man. Tell you, man, when people get wrapped up in a cult, in a group like that, they'll do anything, man, that they say. Like I said, it's scary how that type of person, they can have an influence on your life like that, and you just follow every word they say to the T, man. We learning out here today, Seekers. know this world is a cruel place. Seekers, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, follow me on my social medias. Links are in the description down below, man, so we always stay connected. Hit that like button, man, if you guys enjoyed this video, man. Also, man, tell me if you guys are enjoying this different styles of TikToks that I'm trying to bring to you guys. You know, just trying to switch it up. Like I said, man, do daily uploads for the rest of this month, man. But like I said, going into the August, it might change, but thank you guys for joining me on my journey. We're gonna blow up. We're gonna take off in this algorithm. I believe it. Hopefully, you guys believe it too. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.